And so what is this business of the Hutus and the Tutsis? You've referred to that. When I asked one of your predecessors this question, he said that this was a Belgian conspiracy against Rwanda. Rwanda was a colony. The Belgians were doing a census. And the only question that they asked in the census was, do you own a cow or not? Yes. And those who said yes were called Hutus, and those who said no were called Tutsis. Now, is the difference between a Hutu and a Tutsi only a question of a cow? Or is there any other difference also between the Hutus and the Tutsis?
No, well, I don't want to enter into this kind of political debates where to define who is Hutu, who is Tutsi, because when you want to define who is who, meaning then you end up saying who is the bad, who is the good, the great guy, and so on. Only that there was, well, some kind of ethnic ideology, yes. And I'm saying very humbly ethnic ideology in a way, because you can't scientifically find the kind of differences. That's why, when my predecessors say that, it's ridiculous to go and say, okay, you are a Hutu because you have so and so much cows, you are a Tutsi because you have so and so much cows, or not. I think that the problems was just deeper. It was the power, and those who started that, or beginning of our history, it's true there were those classes. There were Hutus, there were Batutis, there were Batwas, those three classes. But our ancestors did something tremendous for us to build a nation, which nations was called Banyarwanda. And we were just under this one nation, all of us, believing the same culture, the same traditions, living together peacefully. That's why you will see that Rwanda is one of the fewest countries actually in Africa which have only one language. You know, those so-called, I said it's intentionally, those so-called Bahutus or Batutsis or Batwas, they have only one language. They believe the same God. They live together in the same hills. You know, they were married, or they're married even nowadays. So you can't scientifically today define who is who. It's only in the heads of some of, yes.
No, but if scientifically and ethnically, if there's a single language, yes, then ethnicity cannot be a problem, obviously, because language is very important. And since everybody is more or less a Christian, so religion is not a problem either.
No.
And then the only difference, this question of the cow becomes very important, because a cow is going to differentiate between those who are in villages and yes, those who are in towns. Because if you are in a town, you don't have a cow, and if you are in the village, you have a cow. And so the cow becomes a symbol of the power structure in the country, because power is always with the towns, not with the countryside. So the cow is a symbol of that power structure.
Well, later on, you are pushing me really to the end. You want
That's
me
my
to
job.
go into these things.
That's my job.
Okay. You are terrific. So, you know, the thing is, the colonial masters, of course, they institutionalized this ethnic ideology in Rwanda. True is, as you said, those who had 10 and above cows, they were calling Batutsis, others, they were just second-class people. But that was not in our culture. It's a pity that the successor, the regimes who succeeded the colonial masters, they took that and institutionalized it also. And actually you will see when 94, on the top of really the genocide, because the genocide started in end of 50s, 1959. So, but 94, it was really the top of that. So you will see on the roadblocks, people, they will always ask the people, show us your identity. Because it was in the IDs where they put who is Hutu, who is Tutsis. You know, this is the legacy of the colonial masters and so on. But they overtook that, the former regimes, building on kind of ethnic ideologies, their institutions. And that's why actually they killed many people, because you couldn't identify or differentiate who is Hutu, who is Tutsis. Some might say, okay, there are some morphological differences between Bahutus and Batutsis, which is so stupid. Look at me, I can give you my own example. My father was like, what, 4 point something, and I'm 6. No, I mean my grandfather was shorter, so I'm tall. I have 6 and 6'5" or 6'4". So meaning then my grandfather would, according to their racial theories, being a Hutu and me being a Tutsis and so on and so forth. It was so, I'm so sorry to say, so stupid somehow. But that was their way to run, to lead the country. But we eradicated. That was the first things we did once after the genocide, when the government of unity took over, the government which stopped the genocide immediately banned the IDs where the so-called ethnic groups is mentioned.
Now, I do want to go a bit into the history of Rwanda, yes. Starting, of course, with the Belgians.
Yes.
The Belgians were all over the area, and next door, they were in the Congo.
Yes.
And the Congo, which is the size, I don't know, the size of the United States almost, yes. was a country which was not even a country, it was a personal possession.
Yes.
Of the King of the Belgians.
Sure.
A personal possession of the King of the Belgians.
Yes.
And I remember when I was a student, and when the Belgians had to leave the Congo, that in the whole of that country, size of the United States, there were only 25 Congolese who had a BA degree.
Sure.
In the whole country.
Yes.
In a country the size of the United States. What was this type of Belgian rule in Rwanda? Other than the fact that they made you pick up ID cards with something called race written on them. Other than that, was it beneficial? Was it wise? Or was it totally unwise and colonial? Were you treated as human beings, or were you treated as animals by the Belgians?
Well,
why are you taking such deep breaths?
He's so mean, you know. This over, I don't know how many years is that? So 60 years, and you want me to get in trouble with my colleague, the Belgian ambassador, who is the current chairman of the EU. This is not kind of you. So anyway, well, of course, the colonial time was not a good time. True is, yes, Congo was the property of the King Leopold, and he donated that to the people of Belgium as a gift. And it's a country 80 times more than Belgium. So, well, it was in Rwanda. It was a kind of actually they took over. We were under the UN mandate.